Because by getting into the raga state, you're attaching yourself to whatever is in front of you and believe that this thing will keep on giving me the pleasure. So again, you are living in the future. So you want an object to be yours so that you can plan your future, a rosy future. It happens, it may happen, it may not happen. We don't realize that, but we have a firm belief in the time. That we think, again, that time will be able to do this for me. So you're becoming a slave to the time. Not realizing that time is your creation. It is your servant. Time should be working for you, not the other way around, right? So we have a firm belief in time that we're planning for the future. We cannot plan for the future. So our attachment to the present object is an indication that our belief in time still exists. Same thing, dvesh, that you did not like a certain situation, a certain object or certain person created unhappiness for you in your life, right? So you want to walk away from it. And you always think, I don't want to have that. I don't want to have connection with this and that and all that. So we are upset. Your mind is upset. And then that is dvesh. But why you want to walk away from it? Because that person or that object had created unpleasant feelings for you. So again, you're planning for a better future so that that person, whatever future you will have, will be minus that person or minus that object. Again, you're doing the same thing. So rag and dvesh are two sides of the same coin.
And we keep busy, keep ourselves busy in minusing.
In doing the same thing, yeah. Either adding something or minusing something.
Most time minusing.
Right. And minus future. The reason you like carrot cake is only because you hate carrots. Right? It's your hatred for carrot makes you like the carrot cake because then you have something to compare. This I like better than the other. So again, you're planning the future, not realizing time does not work for anyone. Time has its own method. Time has its own wake, that it has its own path that it's going to take. Nobody knows, right? And you're trying to know. And that's where the mistake is. There is a very famous story by Jesus. So Jesus was enlightened. And first thing he gives his sermon to a fisherman. He's walking around, the fisherman is trying to catch the fish. He has thrown the net into the water. And Jesus is passing by. He puts his hand on the shoulder of the fisherman. He says, why are you wasting your time? He says, you have caught so many fish for all these years. I can teach you to catch the God. You don't have to catch the fish for the rest of your life. I can tell you, I can teach you to catch something big. And somehow the connection is set. The guy believes in him. And he starts walking with Jesus. He says, let's go. Teach me something invaluable that I never lose. He says, you have caught so many fish and you have lost so many fish. You did this, you're catching it again and again and again. I'll make you learn something that you catch once and that is with you forever. So he starts walking with Jesus. And then what happens? Suddenly some village guy comes in. He says, what are you doing? You're going after a crazy guy. I have heard that he has become enlightened and this and that. You don't know what you're doing. Better, more than that, your father has died in the village. You better come with me. You have to do the final rites for your dad. So now the fisherman is in a puzzle. So he tells Jesus, he says, you know what? I have to go back to the village. I'll come back and see you in 3 days. So Jesus says, think about it. 3 days is a long time. Are you sure? And then the conversation takes place between the two. It's phenomenal. It's very nice.
He's very famous also.
He's very famous also. So Jesus asked him a few questions. He says, how do you know you're going to be able to come back in 3 days? Do you have a guarantee? Did you know what was going to happen this morning? Did you know your father was going to die this morning when you left for catching the fish? You didn't know. How do you know you're going to be able to come back in 3 days. Okay, maybe you will. Is there a guarantee that I will be here? There is no guarantee. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after. Forget about 3 days from now. Supposing you came here and I am here too. Do you think the contact will take place between us? We'll have the same energy, frequencies at the same time? You may be in a different set of mood. I may be in a different set of mood. What is going to happen? There is no guarantee. The future, nobody holds on to the future. So don't bank anything on the future. There are so many uncertainties of the future. There is no guarantee of the future. And yet, we keep on believing as if there is nothing wrong with it. And the whole world keeps on going around. I'll see you tomorrow. And the guy's dead that night. A lot of things happen. So the worst thing is to plan for the future is when think that to your advantage. The planning is a mistake. The time, belief in time, faith in time is a mistake. And we have that, we do that to maintain our rag and dvesh.
More than that, I think it's not the problem with the planning, but when you say this is exactly what you want is
right,
the outcome.
insistence.
That's the attachment.
Exactly,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Insistence on the planning you're still doing
Yeah,
in the
you
present.
you do planning.
You do the planning, but the
outcome,
results, outcome
it's not
is
in
what-
your hand. Yeah.
Right, because
You
the
still do
ultimate
plan.
driving force behind the planning should not be rag or dvesh.
Karma theory.
So when you attach yourself to the attachment to any object, and you really want that to happen, then you're fixing on the outcome of the events. That's where the mistake is. So the rag and dvesh makes you attach to results, not the action itself. So planning you can still do in the present stage, but then you're attached to the present, not the future. So, so what is rag when you're attaching yourself to a person or an object or a situation? You're trying to derive some kind of pleasure from that object or a person, right? So it's a business. As long as that object or the person is going to keep giving you the pleasure, that object or the person is good for you. As soon as that stops, that person is useless. So really, it's an exchange happening at the business level. It's not love. The same thing in marital situation or any other situation or friendship. As long as that person is good for you and you be good to him or her, there is an even exchange. There is no true love flowing out of you, the unconditional love. And until you feel unconditional love, you have not lived life. Unconditional love is the only true expression of the consciousness, because the flow of consciousness is only giving. And until you realize that only the giving keeps on going to make that expression of consciousness in this huge evolutionary cycle that's going on. The moment you try to get something back, you're reversing the cycle. So whenever you want something, as long as you expect good things to keep coming out of a person or an object, you're not syncing with the consciousness. Then true pleasure will never surface in your mind. So rag for a person is like a business. As long as that person keeps on giving you the pleasure, you're okay with that. As long as it doesn't, that's when you walk away. Then it becomes dvesh. So rag and dvesh keep on baffling you, and you keep on doing the rest of your life till you die, and you never experience the true love. So how far love, you may call love that I love you, I love you, I love you. How far your love can go? And the true expression of love, right? What if that person is ugly? You may have selected him or her for the beauty or whatever. What if that person is not beautiful anymore? Is your love gonna still the same? Okay, it's at the body level. But what if the person's ideas change? What so far you were still thinking, oh, we get along very well because we like the same things and we enjoy the same things. What if that doesn't happen? You still have the love? What if that person loves somebody else and not you? Can you still love the same person? So all these are restrictive things. It is totally material. when the love expands and you break all the barriers, you don't experience the true love. So, Vivekananda, I had sent you that quote of the day. You make your love as big as ocean, and that's when you experience the true love. So, until then, it's just a business. So, you're at the rajas level, the tapas level, you never experience. So, we always keep on going, struggling all the time. When we see a rose, we like the rose, but we don't like the thorns. We hate the thorns, but we want the rose. So, our selecting one over the other is a mistake. So, when you see the rose and the thorns, both of them should generate the same response. It's an existence. And your responses to any outside situation will get blunted. See, the power of consciousness, power of Paramatma, and power of realization that there is a common existing factor between the rose and the thorns will harmonize your responses. You accept the rose, you accept the thorns without labeling one good over the other. So when you start selecting, your ego comes into function. When you accept everything as an existence, your mind reaches in a balanced state. So everything has a right to exist because it was decided by the consciousness for that thing to exist. So when you accept the existence as the ultimate label that consciousness has given to a tiniest creature, to the biggest mammoth, animals, or whatever in between, everything has a right to exist. And as long as that right and the label has been given by the consciousness, it's not up to you to interfere with that. When we realize that, then you have really nothing else to do. Your mind is free. It's not printing the labels anymore. So your label factory is closed. So now all you have to do is just enjoy. Enjoy the life and enjoy the creation of Paramatma. And there is a lot to enjoy. Believe me, whether you know it or not, things are always happening.
You don't need to know it. You just enjoy.
You just have to observe and enjoy. You don't have to know what it is.
Whatever comes across.
Right. J.J. Krishnamurti is very poetic. Very poetic. If you read his writings, it's amazing. He will take almost a whole page to describe one scene. And he says, okay, it had rained last night, there was some mist in the air, the trees were flowing, the sunlight was coming and all that. He just, every single moment, and then the birds chirped, but the silence was not broken. He experiences the silence that is present, but any of these natural noises and voices and all of it, nothing bothers him. He's still in that steady state. And then he puts the next conversation that takes place, somebody has come to him for the advice. He describes the whole scene, and then he discusses with the guy who has come. Oh, my girlfriend left me. What do I do? And this and that. It's such a contrast he puts down. There is so much peace and harmony in the nature. And yet, in our mind, there is no peace. There is no harmony. He puts in a beautiful context with each other, make you realize that there is so much to enjoy. And instead of doing that, we get involved in all these day-to-day things. Somebody's girlfriend walks away. Somebody has temperature is too low. This is too high. This is too low. My bank balance is a little bit less. I bought the lotto ticket. I didn't win. How come everybody wins and not me? This and all the questions and complaints, and everybody has complaints.
Right.
Every time you complain, you are not ready to accept what the consciousness has created. And yet the whole world is full of them. Every single person walking in my office has some kind of complaint. And yet once I make them, they realize it's so beautiful. Yeah, you're right. But the moment they walk away, it's back to the square A again. But there is life out there. Everything is happening. Existence is playing around with each other in its own way. And it's there for you to observe and enjoy. A couple of days back, I was in a hammock taking a nice afternoon nap. I woke up. I was reading J.J. Krishnamurti, right? And then I put my foot down. And then we have a nice the weed barrier. The guy had done the landscaping. Had put those red stone chips and all that to cover it up. Yeah, something like that. But all of a sudden, I'm noticing it was about 4:30 in the afternoon. The sun was shining at an angle. And I'm looking at the whole thing. There is a big community down there. Like there were tiny spider webs were created in between the chips
Right.
to catch the tiny insects. Bigger webs for bigger insects, but tiny, tiny, you know, right? And that's all this thing, and then there were ants walking around. They're going up and down and up and down. For them, they were climbing mountains.
Right.
All this micro community. And then the weeds had grown because some soil had got trapped between those chips and all that. And the sun was shining at an angle. It was filtering nice golden leaves of the tiny weeds. And as soon as the wind comes, they're like swaying around. Each one had their own place in this vast
So the ants
consciousness.
were watching the sunrise, huh?
What's that? No, this was in the afternoon, right?
The ants watching in the
The
sunrise.
ants
from
watching
their
the sunrise.
perspective.
For them, it was the sunrise,
Sunrise.
and then sunset again, because as soon as they climbed down. so the world is out there. You know, we have to. What do we have to do once we come out of all this trying to acquire things and holding on to things? There's nothing else left for you to do but just to enjoy. So that's the power of consciousness. Once we realize the higher existence, our higher self, then there is a lot of things to enjoy. And then you just enjoy the moment. You forget how old you are. You run into the Mount Morency waterfall. Doesn't matter. You enjoy the way you want. It doesn't matter. There are no restrictions. But the main thing is to leave the whole world as it is. Try not to change it and walk away as if you never existed. I guess that much for today.
Okay, wait, I don't want to disturb the energy which is going on. He used some of the words which should be familiar to you. One was unconditional love, another was existence. You remember when did we use all this? When we did the first AMC, there were 3 things we did. Which are the 3 things on which we did the AMC? Who has done the AMC? 1, 2, 3. You remember? Before we did AMC, the last evening at Daksha's house, we discussed 3 things. One of them was expression. What are the other 2 things? Shrenik bhai, yaad chhe?
Unconditional love and existence.
Existence was the one, and the other 2 things. He already discussed all this. I just wanted to continue the same thread. Expression, silence, and reaction. You remember these 3 things?
Expression, silence, and reaction.
Right? The condition of you really experiencing unconditional love is only expression. Whenever you are reacting, you can never experience unconditional.
Act but not react, right?
Huh?
Act but not react.
Everything in the nature is expression. Everything in nature. There is no reaction except at our level. If you see, the harmony of the nature is just an expression. So, whenever you want to experience unconditional love, the best way is to really go into the expression mode. That is possible only in an AMC. Because otherwise, you are only responding to whatever is happening to you, happen to you, or will happen to you. Your entire action right now is a reaction. If you watch, if you are aware of your action, you can simply stop right now and think of the actions you have taken from this morning to here. It is not an expression. Most of them are, oh, I want to go to class. Your first thinking is, oh, I have to start. It is not an expression.
Oh, I started already.
Yeah. Right? So, now that the summer is over and we have almost a full house, I would really like to fix the date for AMC. I already sent the email long back. How many people responded? 1, Shrenik bhai. 2nd, Prerna. 3rd, Ghanshyam Mirani. Huh? And 4th, Kiran.
I did read one email says
Who are you? We don't know you. Let us clap for him. Go ahead. Sorry.
So your email says my email has been hacked by hackers, and I stopped reading your email.
No, after that, lot of water has flown. दुनिया तो आगे है ना भाई बदल ही गई.
No, you told her not to open my email.
Then I never received.
After that, there are so many emails I sent that it is all fixed.
Yeah, he did send it.
Yeah.
These
I
are
already sent an email that it is fixed.
these are very true students. They follow exactly verbatim.
I know how good they follow.
They are expressing themselves.
Okay, now tell me, you want any MC or you don't want? You have to say, if you want any MC, we need to decide, because before it's too cold, we have to really do an MC.
We want.
How many of you want? No, you don't need to raise your hand because I am asking, right? Be yourself. No, not a group behavior. Be an individual and express yourself. How many of you think that you really want to go for an AMC? You need to have completed SSY. Right? Date we will decide. That's the second.